Welcome back to Technique Critiques. I'm Brian from Big Bend Strength. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the lifters on our team, Tonia's PR 162 pound, 74 kilo clean PR. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. First off, start position looks pretty solid. What we're looking for here, hips above the knees, shoulders above the hips. That's the main basics of setup in your clean and your snatch. For longer limbed lifters like her, we're going to typically take a little bit more of a knee out, toe out setup position. Just it helps to get the bar or get your knees out of the way for the bar. So that'd be probably the first thing that I start with her is maybe toe out a little bit more, knee out a little bit more. Let's see what we got on the lift here. Strong, a lot of I would say probably some brute force there. Very powerful, very raw athlete. Let's see what it looks like. So the first thing that I notice is that she's in her setup position and then goes immediately into her lift, and there's no gradients, I guess, between start position to lifting. It's just immediately rocket full force. So I'd like to see her kind of pull the slack out of the bar a little bit more before she starts her lift. That's a good way to help. This is kind of a tougher technique thing to fix, but we're talking about tempo of the lift. So that tempo should be slow-ish below the knee. It should get faster as you cross the knee, and the fastest part of the lift should be you getting under the bar. Whereas this, because she starts so fast in the beginning, it's actually hard for her to pick up speed later on in the lift. So let's take a look at that again. She does manage to pick up some speed as she starts to get under, which is good. I would just recommend starting a little bit slower, and I'd be willing to bet that she'll finish the lift faster. One more time. Let's see if there's anything that we could break down position-wise. She's finishing the top of her pull very well. It looks, and it's kind of hard to see, but it does look like she is kind of letting the bar get away from her before she finishes the extension of her hips. She maybe keep that bar in contact a little bit longer. Otherwise, very vertical. She pulls herself down. There's very little bar space between the bar and her shoulders, which is fantastic. She's getting so much better at that. Boom. Yeah, she meets that bar so high. I would say that she probably needs to drive into that bar a little bit more to meet the bar instead of just kind of working with it, as she's actually probably a little too fluid here, and that kind of causes her to get pushed down into that squat, which is why you start to see her elbows drop. It looks like we might have some elbow-knee contact too, and so if that's happening, you know that you probably need to drive into the bar a little bit more. Some other things to keep in mind is that we may need, and I know this because I've seen her front squats, but it may need a little bit more strength in her upper back because this position is really hard for her to hold, and it tends to round and collapse down a little bit. So what she needs to do is kind of up and externally rotate her shoulders to set her upper back a little bit tighter. So we probably needed to do a little bit more upper back work and cue up and out on the front squat and on the clean in the receiving position. So those are the big things that I am looking at there. Just to reiterate that, start slow in the beginning so that you can get faster. That's the number one thing. Might want to toy around with knee out, toe out in your start position a little bit more. And then in the receiving position, elbows out to set the upper back a little bit more. Now, the opposite of that also works for some athletes. So keep that in mind, that it's not a one-stop shop fix all for everybody, but for her, that will work. All right, guys, that is it for this technique critique. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.